for the news, science news. Top of the list is a series of stuff about Artemis, cover of the New York Times. Yeah, this beautiful shot. Now, interesting thing about this shot of Earth that has been published a lot is that this is actually, this is a nighttime shot of Earth. This is Earth at night. In fact, if you look at the lower right-hand corner, that's that little crescent way down there. That crescent, that's the sun-illuminated side of the Earth. This is a long exposure photograph that was taken from Artemis. They did a long exposure to reveal Earth lit by moonlight. So this is the moonlit long exposure side, and if you look at the 4K high resolution shot that they published on the website, you can see all the little city lights and stuff there's all these lights, lightning strikes and cities and stuff are all illuminated in the photo because it is the night side. But yeah, that's what makes this like a very unusual photograph. The fact that it is, lit. And of course, oh yeah, beauty shot. Yep. And this shows the crazy times for me. As much as people were venting with those nihilistic comments about the problems we have on Earth and why would anyone be interested in Artemis, this is where it gets very personal. The cover of the New York Times, picture of the moon taken by the Artemis crew, and on the very same page, down here in the corner, yeah, U.S. quits deals on trans rights, ending student protections. Yes, yeah, this is the world that I live in, and even with all of the troubles here with basically trans people being erased from American society, even I am excited about Artemis. You see, you can have both. You can recognize the struggles and the strife, and you can celebrate something really awesome that, in the larger scheme of things, really didn't cost us a whole lot of money for what we got out of it. That's the way I look at it, but yes. But, there are a lot of people today that just choose to be nihilistic. It's just like, as long as there's problems in the world, I'm not going to be excited about space. It's like, well, you got a short life of disappointment. There's never going to be a moment in your life that there isn't something in the world to worry about or something terrible going on. There never has been a time in human history, and there never will be a time in human history when there isn't something absolutely awful going on right now. If you're going to wait until all the problems are solved, until you have any joy in life, or think about anything beyond the idea that the world is a terrible place, is full of horrors, if that's all it is, and by the comments, it seems like there's some people out there, unfortunately too many people out there, that really do have that world perspective, man, you're going to have a terrible life. Yes, and continuing, the Artemis 2 astronauts reached New Frontier. This was when they got to the farthest point out. This was, let me get that right there. That's when they, this was on Tuesday. It was printed on Tuesday, but their distance from Earth passed 248,655 miles, the record that had been set for the astronauts of Apollo 13. This was after they went further than Apollo 13. But honestly, Apollo 13 was never intended to go that far out, setting that record. That was a matter of circumstance. And we're going back in time. This was the launch day. Let's go to the moon. Yeah, the launch. Yeah, Florida crowd. Cheers, launch of NASA's first lunar mission in 53 years. We're kind of doing it all backwards. And this was the Philadelphia Inquirer. They didn't have it on the front page, but they did have it in there. Moonbound astronauts capture Earth's beauty. And again, that's the nighttime long exposure. And says NASA released the crew's first downlinked images Friday. That was 1.5 days into the mission, more than half a century. So yes, it was lots of press, and including some of the really incredible shots, Earth out the window, and that's the shot that Glover took, maneuvered the capsule around. Apparently, when they disengaged, they turned around to view the SLS. They wanted to look at the SLS stage, so they weren't broadcasting video at that point. But apparently, after stage separation, Glover manually piloted Orion and turned the spacecraft around so that they could, basically examine SLS. I'm sure all that is. Well, a lot of this is probably available now. I didn't check this morning, but they've been, I'm sure, making more and more data available as the days have gone on. As I aforementioned at the beginning, because the first comment was from Houston. Yeah, Artemis 2 mission, Houston reclaims its status as Space City. Dateline Houston. The planet Houston. Famously, Superman do. Terrence Stamp's famous line, the planet Houston. The astronauts are everywhere you look, playing blah, 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 blah. Houston's identity as the hub of space exploration, place where Apollo 13 astronauts once called to tell NASA's mission control that they had a problem. Sometimes seem blah, 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 blah. Yes, because there were comments to this extent. I think people were complaining that it was Central Time, that the mission was Central Time. This is, why is the mission Central Time? It's like, well, it's because it's commanded out of Houston. It's like, yeah, okay, they launched out of Florida, so the launches are Eastern Time, right? Depending on the time of year, whether it's Standard Time or Daylight Savings Time, but it's Eastern Time at the launch. But as soon as the rocket leaves the tower, when the rocket clears the tower, it's no longer in the hands of launch control in Florida. Everything switches to Houston, and then it's Houston Mission Control. Yes, that's the way it's been since the beginning, since they've been doing space launches. That's the way it's done. All right. I mentioned this in the comments because there were a lot of comments to my Artemis live streams that it's just space is for billionaires, and it's just I'm not gonna watch NASA because NASA's gonna put billionaires into space. It's like, boy, you're mixing things up here. SpaceX is not NASA, and Blue Origin is not NASA, and those 4 people who went around the moon are not millionaires. I'm sorry, kid. And the people who are up there on the ISS working right now, they're not billionaires. They're astronauts who went through astronaut training. We put them up there. And so this is going to come as a shock to all you people who think that it's a billionaire's paradise. Space tourism founders as market evaporates. But yeah, apparently, very quietly, people don't realize that space tourism is over, at least temporarily. Virgin Galactic, they're building like a new kind of system, but it's not done yet. And Jeff Bezos' New Shepard, and they've been flinging people in the suborbital cannonball shots. Well, they stopped doing that because very quietly, Blue Origin in January decided to halt tourism flights for no less than 2 years. Companies like Virgin Galactic and Scale Composites, that was it, Scale Composites. It's right here in the article, Scale Composites that did Spaceship One. And then Virgin bought that. No, okay. No. The envisioned blooming market for space tourism, they said in early 2000s, would launch humans into suborbital space. Yeah, well, they're talking specifically about Scale Composites after they won the X Prize. This is what's going to be. But now the industry is in crisis. In addition to Blue Origin pausing all flights, Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic hasn't flown since June 2024 as it works to develop its new Delta spacecraft, which may never be built and may never fly. because here's the thing. I think Blue Origin discovered, I think Bezos discovered that contrary to what the industry believed and what we all believed, there just weren't enough billionaires in the world with the desire to put their life at risk to fling themselves into space. Apparently, they went through the list. Apparently it's over. Virgin Galactic, it says here that the company's share price is down more than 98% since its debut in October 2019. Wow. Virgin Galactic expects to launch the first leg of its test flight for its Delta spacecraft at the end of 2026. But, really, are they going to do that if there's nobody paying for advanced tickets? Branson says that he wants to fill the gap left by Blue Origin. But, again, if Blue Origin stopped flying because there just aren't people lined up to pay for flights, who's going to fly Virgin Galactic? Space tourism is never meant to remain a niche luxury product, says Rachel Fu, professor at the Department of Tourism, Hospitality, and Management in the University of Florida. Well, yeah, I don't know if that's an authority for the subject, but small initial customer pool functions as a financial and technological bridge toward a longer-term goal, lowering the cost of access to space and expanding commercial activity. But here's the thing. Going into space is not like getting on an airplane. If you decide that you want to go above the Kármán line, you are putting your life in the effing seat. Bottom line. It's life-threatening. When I went on the zero-G flight, and that's going to be in the news in a few minutes. But when I went on the zero-G flight, there was a very long and seriously worded release that I had to sign that mentioned death many, many times. Many times. The possibility of death, the possibility of life-threatening injury, the possibility of life-altering injury, the possibility of calamity. It was repeated over and over and over again, and I had to say, yup. Sign on the line there for death. It was a very bluntly worded release. Yes. And, you go into space, yeah, how many people who have enormous wealth, comfort, and security are willing to sign a document where they say, yeah, you could get killed, you could be maimed, you could smash your head in, you could be turned into a vegetable, you could be burned alive, you could blah, 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 la, 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 sign on this, sign on the dotted line, and you're ready to go. You're going to find that there really aren't that many of them that are willing to do that, and as it turns out, pretty much they've all just done it. All those people that flew on New Shepard, that's pretty much the list. Plus a handful of celebrities who went along for the ride, and a few other people, blah, blah, blah. So, that's it. Space tourism, at least for 2 years, is over. Honestly, I think it was a boondoggle from the beginning. People with money don't necessarily have a lot of, courage. It's like with all the billionaires in the world, you don't find out that they're all F1 drivers. It's like, yeah, there's 3,100 billionaires in the world. There's hundreds of thousands of millionaires. They're not all on racing teams, riding around F1 cars, doing NASCAR, racing dragsters, doing stunt flying. They're not all test pilots. They don't own military jet fighters like Jared Isaacman and flying private air forces. It's like all these rich people, they're not doing that. There's a handful, a few of them. But not enough to run an industry, and that's what we found out. Turns out that there really aren't. There aren't any left. That's it. That's done. All right. So moving on, but staying in space. This was interesting because it wasn't even in the front page. This was buried. This is from the Philadelphia Inquirer. buried in the cities and suburbs. Wasn't even in like the regular section. They kind of just stuck it like this was reprinted from, this is just an AP article. NASA astronauts still mystified by mission-ending medical scare. So remember that the expedition of SpaceX Crew 11 was returned suddenly because of a medical issue that was never revealed. Well, turns out that Mike Fink said he was eating dinner January 7th after prepping for a spacewalk. The next day, when it happened, he couldn't talk and remembers no pain, but his anxious crewmates jumped into action to seek him in distress. So he was having some kind of, I guess they thought he was having a stroke. But Fink, 59, retired Air Force colonel, said the episode lasted about 20 minutes, and he felt fine afterward, and he says he still does. Never experienced anything like it before or since. Doctors have ruled out heart attack. It wasn't choking, and everything else is still on the table it could be related to his 549 days of weightlessness. He was 5.5 months into his latest space station stay when it probably struck him very, very physically. Yeah, it says it happened very, very fast like a lightning bolt. Yeah, so it says he self-identified himself late last month as the one who was sick and ended the mission. So he kind of came out, but again, he says he can't provide any more details about his medical episode. The space agency wants to make sure that other astronauts do not feel like their medical privacy will be condemned. So I guess he must have gone through channels and said, I want to come out publicly. And they said, well, if you do, you can't talk about this, you can't talk about that. It was probably conditional. But at the very least, they said that they have no idea what happened to him. But you see, that's one of the things about being in weightlessness. I mean, this is why I talked about this after my zero-G flight. It's really hard on your cardiovascular system. I was unprepared physically, and I was surprised psychologically how grueling doing parabolas was on my cardiovascular system. My heart was working quadruple time. My blood pressure was up really high. It was like, all your autonomic systems are just freaking going haywire, trying to figure out, because it's such an impossible, unnatural state to not be in gravity. We are not evolutionarily situated to have a mode in our brain for no gravity. Everything just goes crazy. So yeah, I mean, who knows what happened, but apparently he had some kind of a brain circulation episode. I don't know. But maybe there's something new they'll discover in this. Maybe there's nothing to be learned. It's kind of one of those things where really to find out what happened to him, he really would have had to have been put into an MRI at the time of the episode to look at his brain. But maybe there's something new that happens in weightlessness where blood flow can stop to the brain suddenly. But something weird happened to him. Crashed the mission. Okay. Still on the subject of space, sort of, space fiction. Yeah, okay, we're going to talk about it. Some facts are squishy in Hail Mary. So yes, this is about the film Project Hail Mary. The internet, the screaming has begun. I have not seen it yet, but in my suggested videos is from Star Talk, Dr. Neil is having words with the director, it's Andy Weir. So yes, so Andy Weir has been taking flack. Of course, he wrote The Martian. I take umbrage with much about The Martian. Now the articles is saying, well, Andy Weir is really stickler for really getting all the facts right. And I said, well, no, he was already bending everything for The Martian. I mean, there's just so much in there, from atmospheric density to you don't get enough sunlight to the Martian regolith is poisonous. It would go on and on and on and on and on why The Martian just can't happen. But I'm not going to talk about The Martian. Full disclosure, I have not seen Project Hail Mary yet. I do want to see it. I have not seen it yet. So no spoilers because I don't even know what happens in it, except that the article mentions, and if you've already seen Project Hail Mary, please don't give spoilers in the comments, but apparently the film does talk about some things, and scientists are taking task to some of these points, like in the film that there's a space-bound kind of organism that absorbs, somehow can like suck all the energy out of a star, and like the star is, our sun is fading out because this organism, this space organism, is eating all the sunlight, and that it also powers like a hyperdrive, like a warp drive, and isn't that kind of like the Star Trek spin-off series that used a space fungus for an interdimensional warp drive or something like that? Anyway, but one of the grumbles is that that xenon is made into a solid, that there's a solid form of xenon, which is a noble gas. I take umbrage with that. That microbes not only survive but even can thrive in the vacuum of space. Well, there's some truth in that. Microbes can survive in the vacuum of space. Tardigrades have been put into the vacuum of space and reanimated. It's proven. Panspermia is a real thing. Tardigrades, those cute little water bears, that you can put them outside the spacecraft. They'll get freeze-dried. You can leave them out there for a week in the radiation, the vacuum of space. Pull them back in the spacecraft, give them a little bit of water. They're just floating around, happy as can be. So yes, I mean that is true. That can happen. But that but that space microbes will power interstellar travel. I guess that's a little squishy. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about it. But all right, here we go. This is from the Philadelphia Inquirer, The Life and Culture. Meet the Ambler man who hunts meteorites for a living. Oh, there he is, right there. Yeah. Brett Joseph Cohen of Ambler poses with meteorites recovered in Ohio earlier this month. So he went to Ohio. I've actually got two articles about this, the big Ohio meteor. There have been a few in the last few weeks. There have been a few noted fireballs, one of which I think nothing had been recovered yet, but this is about the Ohio one where people, basically the meteorite hunters, were going, there's a lot of data now. When they have a fireball, they know the path where it's broken up and everything. They have computer models and stuff, and they basically go to the areas, in the corridor where little bits might make their way down, and they're looking for little fragments of these fireballs that are always coming. So Brett Joseph Cohen, when word spread of the Ohio meteor, social media lit up, and it says it's immediate. You pack your bags, you say goodbye to everybody, and you just leave. And it says here, for the next several days, in the company of about 25 other professional meteor hunters, he scoured muddy farm fields and public lands in Medina County, Ohio, searching for pieces of a 6-foot wide, 7-ton chunk of asteroid. So I guess that's what they determined it would have been. Meteor hunters use radar, weather reports, and other technologies to pinpoint an area in which meteor parts may have fallen. So that's kind of what I said. Yeah, they've got tools at their disposal to basically get a possible field area of debris, and then they just kind of go in there and I guess go to all of the publicly accessible and totally legal lands to look for meteorites. I'm sure only those legal lands. No private property, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. So far, Cohen has found 5 fragments of it. Yeah. On Cohen's website, larger meteorites, including lunar fragments blasted in Earth's atmosphere when another asteroid hit the moon, can fetch thousands. Lunar meteorites, you say? Maybe a piece of the moon like that? like that. Yeah, a lunar meteorite. Yeah, they do fall to Earth. You do get the occasional chunk of the moon coming to Earth the old-fashioned way. Mostly olivine. It's mostly olivine. It's got a little bit of iron in it. Some other things. It's it's a very nice compact sample. A little piece of the moon. My little piece of the moon. I own a little piece of the moon. It's right here. But I also got a little meteorite. You can get these. I mean, they're everywhere. This is this one I got in a souvenir shop, but it's right there. It's in the form of a piece of jewelry, but yeah, you can wear it. It's a little meteorite, a little iron meteorite. Yeah, little 4.5 billion-year-old rock that you can wear. But yeah, I mean, and fragments like this, they're not expensive. Fragments like this size, there are countless numbers of them. Because literally, the Earth is covered in meteorites. They literally rain from the skies continuously. I talked about this last week about the micrometeorites. You can go on YouTube and there are instructions there about how you can make your own magnetic brooms to sweep your own roof. If you've got a roof or a patio or something like that, to sweep and look for metallic fragments and get little, there's lots of how-tos. Anyone can do it. And literally every building, every lot, it's like the whole surface of the planet, including probably the roof of your own house. Well, I guarantee you the roof of your own building is, it's covered in little specks of meteorites. It's like we're just, space dust is raining down on us all the time. And yeah, that's what this is about. This is about the Ohio. There's a bigger chunk there. The Ohio meteorite. After a blazing meteor, 24 prospectors raced to find Ohio. This is New York Times National. Dateline Wadsworth, Ohio. Yeah, where to start is something of an art, they say. When the fireball spotted meteorite hunters turned to Mike Hankey, software developer who is in the operations manager of the American Meteor Society. He compiles hundreds of witness reports and, along with data from Doppler radar, maps of the flight of the meteor, and blah, 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 determine, I guess, the debris field. They said this particular meteorite had a debris field that was about 20 to 30 miles long, so it was a pretty big area.
It's 2 o'clock p.m.
Ooh.
2 o'clock p.m. 2 o'clock p. 2 o'clock p. 2 o'clock p.m.
Thank you, Mr. RoboClock. It is indeed 2 o'clock p.m., and we are going overtime because I have messed up. But, 20 to 30 miles long. That's a pretty big field. It said it caused a sonic boom that rattled windows and could be heard as far east as Pittsburgh. As meteors break apart, little pieces then tumble and fall to Earth. Sometimes they spin like a bullet. On rare occasions, they come down in a fixed position, leaving the front side smooth and curved. So they kind of come in. That's interesting. So some meteors, they would come in almost like a spacecraft, where when they start to ablate, the ablation stabilizes their rotation, and like one side faces into, and I guess once it reaches a certain parabolic shape, it becomes like a heat shield. Because it's one of the things about those spacecraft heat shield design is that it's designed with a specific kind of a contour that you shouldn't have to pilot the spacecraft. They shouldn't have to, once it hits the atmosphere, that the shape itself keeps it like in that position. So I guess occasionally a meteor will melt away, get that right parabolic shape, and then it just keeps coming through in that position. And so when it lands, it's got like a rounded off side and then the back side's rough. That's pretty cool. But they talk about some of the ones they find that nobody's counting on finding a 54-pound specimen like the one found in Niger that fetched 3.5 million. Wow. The 200, 300-pound space rocks. Yeah, I mean, there are some huge ones at the up in New York at the Museum of Natural History. They've got some huge meteorites, iron nickel meteorites that are like, 8-9 feet in diameter. They've got some really big specimens. It's one of my favorite things. They have a whole meteor room where you could just look at meteorites, and some of them you can touch. They've got ones you can touch, and they got another one that's in the planetarium room that's really, really kind of, it's like Swiss cheese. It's all cut out. It's sort of like potato shaped, but then it's got all these like voids in it where it's been like all eaten out and everything. You don't find meteorites, they find you, says Matt Stream, a meteorite dealer, Riverside, California. Yeah, so it's like the meteorite whisperers, you know. They find you. Vargas, okay. Roberto Vargas says, like other meteor hunters, often give samples to university geologists to examine. That's cool. We give them about 20%, and they do the work. It's symbolic relationship. Well, that's cool. Asked how much this rock might be worth, Mr. Vargas shook his head. Says, every reporter asks that. I hate that question. I won't answer it. No, sir. Don't like it. But yeah, and there's like a sub-article in there, like from Fireball to Fragment in the bedroom. Yeah, because pieces of space rock are falling all the time. They sometimes fall on things and people. You can Google it and find automobiles that have been totaled by meteorites, smashed windshields, roofs, floors. There's been some pretty famous ones, pieces of meteorite and space junk too. Well, now it's space junk is also causing damage. But a meteor that streaked across Texas on Saturday, like I said, there were several publicized fireballs in the last few weeks. This one was the Texas one. On Saturday afternoon, produced several meteorites, including one that tore a fist-sized hole in the roof of a house north of Houston, the planet Houston, aforementioned, the authorities said. No one was injured in the episode, which took place approximately 4:45 p.m. The meteorite crashed through the roof of a 2-story house. It hit the floor in the bedroom, where it ricocheted and struck another part of the ceiling, according to a report by a local television station. Yeah, the photo provided by the fire department showed the rock on the floor of the residence. And I guess that's what that is there. Right there. I guess they called the fire department. The sky is shooting at me. Call 911. We heard a big boom. I was in the bedroom. I didn't know what it was, Mrs. James said. Gratefully, no one was hurt. Oh no, it looks like a meteor piece, she recalled telling her grandson. NASA said witnesses first reported seeing the bright fireball in the sky around 4:40 p.m. The agency then said the meteor came visible about 49 miles above Stagecoach, northwest of Houston. The agency said the fireball traveled southeast at 35,000 miles per hour before it broke apart 29 miles above Bammel, about 18 miles northwest of downtown Houston, the planet Houston. The meteor, which is estimated to weigh about a ton, have a diameter of about 3 feet, broke up, yeah. Caused sonic booms heard by many in the area. Less than a week ago, another meteorite rattled buildings and startled residents in parts of Pennsylvania and Ohio. That's the aforementioned one. An asteroid nearly 6 feet in diameter and weighing about 7 tons produced that fireball, according to NASA. So the Ohio one was a big one. I myself saw a very, very big fireball when I was in New York a number of years ago. It was after dusk. I'd just come back. I was kind of retiring in my hotel room. I had the windows open so I could see the view. I was looking to the southeast. And I just happened to be staring out the window when I saw this huge fireball going across. I was like, whoa! It was bright. It was fast. It was like, wow, that is a meteor. What I didn't realize is that at the time it was the one that landed in Maryland. So here I was seeing this thing streak, seemingly, not overhead, but like, in the distance. But it was hundreds of miles away, burning up in the upper atmosphere, and it ended up coming down over somewhere over Baltimore. So, anyway, meteorites are everywhere. Everywhere. I'm going like to an hour of space news. This is just a short article. This is actually in the dance section of New York Times. It's about doing dance without gravity. And so, they have trampolines there. Dancers apparently doing training with harnesses for a trapeze rigs, and underwater also doing the dances underwater. But the article is really about how this one dance troupe used the zero-G plane that I flew on for doing dance exercises. I thought this was very interesting. Taking dancers up into the zero. Now, you remember I was talking about that waiver that I had to sign that mentioned death many, many, many times. So apparently a bunch of dancers and choreographers have been risking life and limb to get on the zero-G plane to do dance. Now, you're only really weightless for 20 seconds, but it takes, between 5 and 7 seconds to actually get oriented once you get off the floor. So, and then when they're announcing rotation, you've got to get on the floor again, so you can't be too far away. So when you compress it down, with the time it takes to get oriented, and then the time it takes for you to get back on the floor so you don't crack your head, you get 12 seconds, 10, 12 seconds of actual floating time. It's not a lot of time to do a dance, but it says here that they were using the zero-G plane to do this. It doesn't really say much about what they did. It just kind of mentions it in passing. They do mention in the article, though, that zero-G company that I took the flight with, their planes are grounded currently. They said as a temporarily have paused flights to do maintenance on the plane. I guess you gotta do that. That plane goes through a lot. Goes through a lot. I'm gonna have to cut it short. I'll end it on a high note. Hang on here. Well, I want to do this. I had this plan, so I'm just gonna. Oh man. There's really two things. Okay, two things. Two last things. One is that I talked about this at the end of news a few weeks ago, that the grandson of the founder of the Reese's Cup, and people were criticizing me that I was calling it Reese's. I had always called it Reese's, but they said it's Reese's. It's Reese's, not Reese's. I'm from Philly, We say water. Get some water at the Wawa. Don't drink the water out of the Schuylkill. I'm from Philly, so yes, I grew up calling it Reese's. We always called it Reese's, but people say no, it's Reese's. It's Reese's. But anyway, Hershey's have announced that they're going to go back to putting chocolate into their peanut butter cups because of all the uproar. Apparently, people were very upset that the grandson of the founder of the company was upset that they had taken chocolate out of peanut butter cups. Go figure. So, due to huge public outcry, Hershey's is going to put chocolate back into peanut butter cups. But you know what? Don't expect too much. That chocolate will be microscopically thin, and it's going to be filled with it's garbage. Like I said, it's crap. There you go. But this is the last thing I wanted to talk about. I talked about this weeks ago. It's a Philly story, hard to believe. Delivery bots get the Philly welcome, and you know what that means. You know what happened? You know what we did to HitchBot, right? Well, so I talked about this weeks ago. I put up a little short, but here's a few others here. This is for real. These little guys here, these little delivery bots, are all over Center City, and I've been seeing them for weeks. And in my travels, I've kind of gotten used to the little spots where these little guys park. And here's one crossing the street, navigating around people. You see it's got LiDAR there on the top. And this one is going, I guess it finished a delivery and it's going to a parking spot, and I just happened to be there watching it, and it just was, well, I'm just gonna park right here. And so I just kind of came around and it's like, it's okay, it's parked right there. Let's go right. So came around, look at the front end, and it has all these little expressions it does. You know, it blinks at you. Sometimes it looks around, looks at you. I was just, okay, what's this thing gonna do? Is it gonna take, shut off. It's like, okay. So they do actually shut down. And here's another one. Here's another one. Just driving by, doing a delivery. See, it's changing its, there it goes. Just doing a delivery. But yeah, so we got e-bikes, e-scooters, skateboard kids, people on bicycles, motorcycles, everything zipping up and down the sidewalks. And now we gotta look out for these little things, and you know, they're easy to trip over. Yes, they've got a little flag on them. But apparently, the article says that people have started defacing and doing stuff. Yeah, a group of late-night revelers belting The Killer's Mr. Brightside from the inside of a roving karaoke trolley was the latest thing a delivery robot experienced before being toppled over by a forceful kick from a Philadelphian over the weekend. The bot had been in Philadelphia for all of 18 days, and it got kicked over. Take that, you bot, blinking at me in the middle of the night. Yeah, meet Drunk Philadelphia in the middle of the night. Autonomous Uber Eats delivery robots. One was kicked and toppled over in Center City on Saturday at Juniper and Locust around midnight. The Fun Cab karaoke taxi owner said. Those trolley security cameras captured the incident on video. Yeah, they have these roving open-air karaoke vehicles that roam around at night and very loudly blast people singing off-key, drunkenly. Just another thing that we have in Philly. And delivery bots. Though the delivery bots are not supposed to be out past 10 p.m., this one was reportedly still wheeling around at midnight. Ah, see? Wasn't supposed to be out after the bedtime. There you go. If you're out late, you pay the price because the drunks will find you and they will kick you. Now it's like Watership Down. The world will be your enemy. And if they find you, they will kick you. But first, they have to find you and they have to catch you. So, be fast, be clever, survive. Yeah, so there you go. All the news. That's as much as we can do. I had more, but we went over time. So anyway, we are so over time. That's it for the news for this week. More next week. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. Do this again next week. In the lab. That's where I work. In the lab. Go berserk. In my lab. That's where I work. That's what you're watching. Friend lab. That's what I'm doing. Working at the bench. again. I'm Fran.